Okay, hello there, traders. Welcome back to the TOGS Trading Podcast number 12. We're up to. Hope you've enjoyed the Easter break, which kind of plays into our theme for today's session. But thanks very much to all of those of you who have been subscribing and liking our podcasts and adding comments, etc. As always, we say it's really great. We really love it. If you've got any questions or comments or thoughts, fire them across to us, and we're very happy to take them on board. So today we're supposed to be talking about, it is the start of a new month, okay, start of a new quarter, okay, we're into calendar Q2 for 2024. And so, the question of really the sort of the conversation about, well, okay, it's a new quarter. Is it new goals? Does it have an impact upon us? Do we plan for it? Do we build it into our trading plan in any way, shape, or form? And as always, all right, to talk about that, I'm joined by Ian in Dublin. So looking good, Billy Ray. How are you doing?
What? Well, better than last week. At least I haven't got the flu,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
which is
That's
a
it. That's
nice thing
progress.
going into spring.
Yeah, yeah. You look positively radiant compared
Oh,
to the
thank you
last
very
couple of
much.
weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. I had enough sleep last night as well, which is an amazing thing.
Well,
But
there you go. That helps, doesn't it? That
yeah, because my
that
family's
helps
away, so I
indeed.
don't have. Yeah, my family's away at the moment, so I don't have my son coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning looking for cornflakes. So yeah, well, he likes that. He's not as bad as he used to be for waking you up in the morning. You can kind of go downstairs. But yeah, he gets up at that time of the morning, and then the door flies open, and you're like, oh God, the start of a
So,
new day.
have you enjoyed these couple of days of
Yeah.
flu-free, family-free, peace and quiet?
Mm.
Has it been a good Easter for you in that sense?
Yeah, especially Friday, because I think Good Friday was the first day I took off in yonks that I can remember almost. Because usually I end up doing something, even on Christmas Day, I'd end up sneaking away, end up in a chart at some stage, or reading some article, or doing something to do with trading, or else there's something to do with the family, or there's something to do for something for someone somewhere. And Friday, I think, was the first day in ages which I just actually just sat on the couch and went, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to watch a load of films and just relax. And that was a nice relaxing day. So, it's different when the family's here because I've much more, or when being on my own because I have much more time. Um, and it's just nice to get stuff done because I've been doing lots of little finishing off side projects that I had, and just, you know, getting much more trading done, which is quite nice. And that's basically it. It's been an okay Easter.
So, here you go. Here's a question I would challenge you on. If Good Friday's your
Mm,
first day off in 2024,
mm,
that means you've hammered away at it for the first quarter, for the first 3 months without a break. And whilst you've also had a bit of flu and a bit of virus bug, which
mhm,
I've had myself and stuff and what have you.
mm.
So it's that's quite a long time between breaks for you.
Yeah,
There's a topic on workaholism that for a future session, I believe, isn't it? I think that's
yeah, yeah.
there's something we can talk about there till the cows come home.
But I think trading is just is such an easy place to get into workaholism. Like I always had some sort of dose of workaholism. And you can see where it comes from. When I was young, you were basically, because I was dyslexic and I wasn't good in school, and you're always being told, well, you're just lazy. And I think that sort of played with my brain to a certain extent. And then you just end up overworking. And then there is no division. When you work from home, there's no division between, home
Yeah,
life, work life, because they're both the same. They're both happening in the same space. They're happening on the same devices sometimes. Like, so basically I'd be looking at my laptop, which I'm on now, and you'd be sneaking off in the middle of doing something else to go and look at charts or do something else. So can be very difficult to differentiate work from home life. And then I think as well, you just get caught up with work to a certain extent, because work can be a lot of the time can be a very joyful experience, to a certain extent, because you're learning something, you're progressing. It's not like a job where you go to a factory and you put bottles in boxes, which is a job from years ago that I did. Where you just want the time to be over. If you progress in trading, you can actually get something really joyful at the end of it, which is your dreams, your success, your money, whatever
Yeah,
that means to
no,
you.
I'd agree with that. As I said, that's a whole topic all on its
Mm,
own. I think that is something we
yeah.
can yeah, talk about and stuff. And just even like listening to you there and stuff, a few things that just brings up for myself about how I yeah, my phone and my phone, I don't have any broken packages on it and stuff. I don't want to be able to trade on my phone, even though you can do. I have whilst I have a couple of laptops, I also have like a really basic Amazon Fire tablet, and the reason being is that all I want to be able to do on it is to literally answer the odd personal email and watch TV. I don't want to be able to answer work emails or look at charts or what have you, because actually sometimes you do need to have a bit of a very clear boundaries and very clear divisions and stuff, because otherwise, you can fall into a place of working 24 hours on it. Trading will take up all the time you allow it to. I've often said that, but yeah, anyway, so here we are into the start of April. So based upon last week, we had a chat about sort of ending of quarters and what we'd learned and what have you. And is there anything you're going to be taking forward going into new quarters, etc.? Is it going to do you reflect upon it? Do you work with that in terms of like changing how you go forward from here?
Yeah, just to say one last sentence about workaholism. Workaholism is not about effectiveness. It's about
Yeah,
work. It's about work rate. And the thing is that you can work at McDonald's and be a workaholic. There
yep,
isn't, it's because it's a drug at the end of the day that you're taking. And that's one of the big things that people get, because workaholism gets celebrated in Western society.
it does.
That this hard working, whatever sort of thing like that. But it is nothing to do with how good you are at your job. It has nothing to do with effectiveness. It has nothing to do with anything else. It just has to do with work. And that's something
Yep.
that I think that people don't understand about the whole thing about workaholism. That's why it's not good. If
Mhm.
workaholism equaled success, it would be great, but it doesn't necessarily mean success or mirror success. It just basically is work. So yeah, so goals. Well, when I was sitting down, I was thinking about this. I realized that I pretty much had the same goals since I was 16 in general. So, so it even trading is an expression of sort of a core idea of who I am rather than anything else. So it was when I was young, basically. So my mother used to clean houses. She worked in restaurants at night, washing dishes and doing stuff like basically fairly menial jobs. But the other thing was that I used to be in around all these other people's houses that were I thought at the time were wealthy. Now I just know they were middle class. And I think that sort of had a profound effect on me as a young person because I saw that their lives were better. There was a nicer life. They went on in the 1980s, they went on holidays, they they had nice things in their house. There was no arguments in the house over money. Um, it was calmer, I think, really in all those sort of houses. It was a different, certainly a definitely different dynamic. And I remember, and then they treat you differently. It's if you're the cleaner's son, you're a certain class of person, and they're going to treat you like a certain class of person. I think that had a huge sort of effect on my own self,
Mhm.
and and then the goal at that stage was to get out of that position, no matter what. That was the really big central goal, and that's the central goal, which brought me to trading because trading is a vehicle for social mobility as much as it is anything else. If you're good at trading, you can move socially because you can provide the income because you need an income. You need to change yourself culturally, of course, but you also need to change to bring. You also need the income to kind of match it to get the assets, and then you need the type of career that trading delivers. So the first thing that came into my mind when I was thinking about this is you ever remember Pinky and the Brain, the cartoon, and every cartoon will finish with, "What are we doing tomorrow, Pinky? We're going to try and take over the world," and it's the same goal. So I think I've been at the same goals overall for 45 years or something ridiculous. So yeah, so that was where I started off with that anyway. Basically, was that was that was the first part of the whole goal thing.
Yeah.
Um, there were so many little things. Like I remember even my mother's employer, one of my mother's employers, explaining to her that I should really just get a job when I finished school. I should just really get a job on a trawler because I had worked on a trawler, and I was just thinking, Jesus, I have the beard.
Money on the trawlers back in the day.
So like I used to be out when I was out 14. I used to be out driving the trawler because I was too young to do anything else. So I used to drive a trawler basically in a straight line and then
Wow.
turn and then drive it in a straight line the other direction, and that was basically it. So that was a big thing with that. So that was, and that's how people saw you. And I think the education system at the time was very class based where I came from. I think they call it tracking. So you had all the really good kids in one class, the who came from the nice families, and then you had all the sort of lower professional shop owner type, tradesmen's sons, that sort of stuff that were in another one, and then you had all the leftovers were in the last class. And I was in the last class because I was also dyslexic on top of everything else, and that was basically it. So when I sat down to think about goals going forward, that's where I started with. Basically, was
Wow.
that's your base thing. So it was. Um,
That's a big picture view there. But
mm,
it is always fascinating to see how those events shape people's lives, and it shapes the way they approach anything in their life, and about how they, the thing that colors their vision about what is possible, and how they can work and how they can operate and stuff. It's and then basically how that kind of draws down into the day-to-day behaviors and the day-to-day they work stuff. um uh, for myself, in terms of like the just going into like a new quarter. In my case of reflecting on like, what did I do last quarter? What did I do well that I want to keep going with? What did I do poorly that I should cut out?
mm,
And what are the areas that I could do with developing and stuff. In terms of areas of cutting out, there wasn't really anything for me, mainly because and we discussed this last week, is that the kind of challenges I had in the quarter were down to actually not trading as much as I would have liked, because I just couldn't shift this flu and virus, and it's affecting my sleep. So
mm,
I wasn't trading as much as I would have liked in terms of the way I conducted myself. When I look back in it, I conducted myself in my trading windows as well as I can, as well as I can be happy with, as well as I can be expected. So it wasn't that. In terms of development, though, there was quite a bit in development and stuff, and part of that is through towards like the kind of project I'm working on this month, okay, which is about helping some other traders go through their funded trading challenges and stuff. And so I'm going to pick up that challenge as well. And so I was looking at like one or two of the new platforms that the funding firms utilize and stuff, and also looking at it as a trading it on futures as opposed to mostly just FX and CFDs. And that's something I needed to do a lot better. That's something I need to get sharper
mm,
on, because you get used to using a couple of platforms. You get used to using them, you get comfortable using them, and actually then operating with like a new platform in new trading styles. It does shake you up a bit and stuff, which is not a bad thing. But and maybe this is my tin hat wearing moment and stuff, is that I sometimes think that some of the newer trading platforms, they're almost designed to trip you up. They're almost designed for you to encourage you to make mistakes and stuff, and to make those fat finger errors and what have you. So you
mm,
have to take your time to get to know what you're doing. You have to do your HCI, human computer interface, and understand it and stuff and what have you. And so that is one area of development for me for this month. I need to get much better. Bringing in, and I've probably made a rod for my own back by looking to bring on 3 or 4 new trading platforms, bits of technology, and of course, it takes time. All right, it takes time to learn new ones and get comfortable in it when you've been operating, in a certain particular way. So yeah, that's definitely the kind of my focus, getting better at the technology on for funded firms, etc., and what have you. So um, Yeah, so there you go.
Mm.
That's my area for development. I've got other goals, but that's my biggest area for development, I'd say.
Yeah, just what we were saying, trip you up. I think an awful lot of spread betting platforms are totally designed to screw with your trades. I don't like the interfaces on a lot of them. I think that they're
Yeah,
clunky and difficult to use and, you know, glitchy and whatever else. And I think that because there's no advantage to them. Um,
yeah,
in you being able to execute your trades particularly well. It's everything is just adding to their thing, adding to their thing, adding to their thing. And especially for intraday trades, I mean, if you're doing a volume of trades on them, yeah, excuse me, it really does make a big difference. And it is so easy to do a fat finger on some of those platforms. It's one of
yeah,
the things I like trade stations, matrix and stuff like that because it's relatively simple. And then sometimes when you're doing the actual futures, just doing as long, well, for ES because it's relatively liquid, buys and sells are, you get your fills. You're not too badly
yeah,
off. You're going to bet it. I was also just thinking as well, just go back to the last thing for just 1 second. The first time I ever became aware of trading as a profession was that documentary Trader by Paul Tudor Jones, the one that he keeps
yeah,
taking.
yeah.
That was on I came home from work one night and that was on the BBC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was fascinated by it, like because it was this really, because it was like an alien to where I lived. I mean, I lived in this sort of almost hyper masculine thing. And there was fishermen and beef farmers, there was whatever. And there was this guy with his Bruce Willis sneakers on who looked like he would die in the first day out with us. And yet he was, doing all these amazing things. And I thought that's the first time I was actually aware that there was this consciously aware that there was this thing called the stock market that was out there that you could actually do something with. As for my own trading goals, the only trading goal really that I had, the biggest trading goal that I've had is to try and do less scalping and do longer trades. Um, Part of it is just simply I'm sick of working for a living,
Yeah,
so doing some trades on a higher time frame, like getting into the 60-minute time frame and then just leaving it there to do its job, is appealing to me. And to do that basically because it isn't a technical difference as such, because you're basically using more or less the same setups. You're using the same skill set. It's all about the psychology of yourself. And I'm not a big believer in self-discipline. I don't believe self-discipline. It does exist, but it isn't. It's how much of it you have to use to complete a certain task. So if you really like going to the gym, you see all these guys who love going to the gym and have six packs and all that kind of stuff. Um, and they're all have such great self-discipline, but it's not self-discipline. Is that in the sort of push and pull, they enjoy what they're doing.
yep,
So some days they
yeah,
might get up and they'll go, oh, I don't know, I don't really want to go today, but I will. Whereas somebody who thinks that they're being cheated at life or something, that they have to go and lift a few weights, is going to need a huge amount of self-discipline. So it isn't self-discipline itself isn't a huge difference. It's how much you enjoy stuff and how
yep,
much you hate stuff and how much energy you have to put into that. And the more energy you have to put into it, the more likely you are going to fail at doing it. It'd be like getting it. I don't know. But anyway, that's one thing. So I have to relearn to like that style of trading. I have to learn that it's profitable. I have to learn and to get it into my subconscious, because once it's in your subconscious, because your subconscious either supports what you're doing. I mean, what is it? It's like 90% of your decisions every day are made by your subconscious.
yep,
And I think that there's a and I think that your subconscious either has successful traits in it that support your journey to success, or it has not successful traits in it that is going to hamper your journey to success, whatever success means for you, basically, in everything in life, whether I don't know, take any sport. Like I like pistol shooting. And I remember when I started off first in pistol shooting, I was really super relaxed because I didn't have any my subconscious was not scared about what I was doing. So it was in competitions, but I didn't care where I placed in the competitions. It was just a bit of fun. So you're able to operate at exactly as good a level because your subconscious is supporting is supporting you. It's saying this is okay, this is safe, this is just fun, this is just whatever, and it's supporting you to do something else. Where an awful lot of people go into trading and their subconscious because is so tied up with old beliefs. Like I have to work every day. I have to, if I don't work, I can't do this. Um, if I work for a certain amount of time, I'm going to get paid. It's losing money is painful. So they've all these sort of subconscious beliefs that are going to hamper them on the way through trading, and that's really the big difference between, I think, successful pro traders and everybody else is that their belief system is actually different. So I have to change my belief system to do that because the other stuff of it is the other parts of it is just relatively easy. Like the technical side of it is actually relatively easy. It's the subconscious side of it the psychological side of it that's really going to be the biggest difference, really. And that won't take that long because once you have a certain level of success, your brain sees that level of success from the
Yep.
change you've made.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you make that change. It's going to sink into it. Sees, oh, look, you can make loads of money doing this. It sinks into your subconscious, and that then becomes your reality. That's basically my trading goal. Anything else?
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. There's a lot there, a lot to unpack there. Well, firstly, Paul Tudor Jones. Yeah, that's a great video.
Mm,
And
mm,
if you can see it, you should basically
mhm,
you should try and see it as soon as you possibly can. And the other thing, Paul Tudor Jones. I mean, he's like kind of my professional trading hero. We both wear glasses. We both share the same name. We both share the same birthday, 28th September. But after
mm.
that, our fortunes have diverged quite considerably. But then my uncle didn't own a commodities brokerage, so
No,
so
you probably weren't raised to it. He probably had 20 years of experience before he even got
yeah,
to, when he was
yeah,
18, 20 years of experience.
exactly that and stuff. And so yeah, but it's that video is worth watching. It's worth reading his chapter in New Market Wizards. He's in there as well. And he's just basically he's yeah, he is. He's a trading giant and stuff and what have you. And if you look at he's loads of quotes attributed to him, but one of them is like to be successful at trading, you should get find a trading system that's right 20% of the time, but you win five times what you risk after every trade, and there you go, you're in business and stuff. As simple as that. But the thing is,
Mm,
as we've said before, most people can't trade a 20% hit rate
no,
trading system and stuff and what have you. Most people as you mentioned, they're conditioned on being right, or they have a need to be right, they have a need to be paid and stuff because the system conditions them. Um,
mm,
so with regards to discipline, so this is a bit of a hobby horse of mine. When they did that, it was, I think, Accenture Analytics did the study on the Wall Street fund managers, the PMs, etc., guys who were trading billion plus funds, up to 10 billion plus funds. And they looked at what was the three elements that basically kept appearing in all of the successful big fund managers. And the three elements were process, discipline, and self awareness. Those were the three things that just completely, constantly came through
mm,
in all of the studies of those guys and girls. Um, and some people are a bit surprised about that because it wasn't to do with the technology, or it wasn't to do with the having the best trading system, or wasn't having the flashiest office and work number and stuff and what have you. Process, discipline, and self awareness. But the thing with discipline isn't linking into yours is um, discipline. It is easier to be disciplined if you have a process to follow. Process and discipline work well together, because if they don't, well, then your discipline is it's linked to your motivation. So you talked about examples for yourself. So for me, people always ask, well, what was it like in the military? It must have been really tough because there's a great deal of discipline. But actually, I didn't really find it that difficult. Even my rebellious type of nature was okay because I was motivated, because flying fast jets, being around fast jets, that's what I wanted to be. So I had had the kind of motivation there to do it. But what I would say with discipline is that you can't always rely on it. I think it links into like decision fatigue, and you get, the more decisions you have to do, the more thinking you have to do, the quicker you become fatigued, and the more likely you are to break any kind of rules you have, or the discipline that you rely upon to get you through things basically it wanes. The likelihood of it being broken or ruptured increases, and so things like processes, things like having good routines, habits, behaviors, systems, they help you be more disciplined because it's literally you're not using up your brain power. You're just literally following a checklist, just tick, tick, tick to make sure you're doing the right things without having to constantly think about it. Because once you're constantly thinking about it or conscious about it, well then you're burning through your glucose, and your ability to stay disciplined. It evaporates rapidly. And then I would suggest that we'd link into that final element, self-awareness. If you are doing a good debrief, of your trades, of your day, of your week, your month, your quarter, year, etc., these are things that help raise self-awareness, and as you raise self-awareness, you're better at seeing where your strengths and weaknesses are. And so if you're struggling with discipline, well, then actually you can, you'll be aware of actually the ways that you could maybe work to effectively to put systems in place to help you with breaking bad habits and creating the habits that support you in working towards where you want to be. So it's I think that's a huge area. It's a fascinating area, and it's not just for trading. Although trading is you get a very quick feedback loop of it, but I think it probably can actually help for all sorts of areas of all areas of life and stuff. And I have not, in all my years, I have not met any long-term sustainably successful traders that aren't disciplined. But that doesn't necessarily mean, every little minutia of their life is disciplined. That they know when and where to focus it. I would consider myself a bit like that and stuff as well. Is that you can't operate at 100% all the time. You want to, you think you can, but the reality is you can't. You can't operate at that level of intensity. So you have to have periods where you might windows where you might really operate effectively with that, but then you also have to have windows where basically you are not as disciplined, okay, where you are more relaxed in the way you do it because you can't maintain that indefinitely. That would be my particular view on that element. What do you make of that?
Well, one of the things I was just thinking when you were saying that, one of the problems that new traders have in developing self-discipline is like, it's very, as you say, it's very easy. Like if you have a system with an edge. So if I put it in a box and hand it to somebody and say, this is a system with an edge. So you draw your lines like this, you enter here, you enter there. It's very easy for them to develop discipline around that if they're handed a system. Like if they're like in prop houses, what happens a lot of the time where there's a lot of mimicking of somebody else's system. And I think that makes a big difference to developing your self-discipline, because you know that if you follow this process, at the end you're guaranteed this result, and this is the result that you want. So as you move on and you see more and more proof come in that by doing this in this particular way, in this particular sequence, with this particular checklist, you're going to succeed. It's relatively easy, I think, to develop self-discipline. But if you're a new trader and you're looking at fractals or something, or Fibonacci or anything at all, and you don't know what the process to make that work is actually going to be, it does make it a lot more difficult to have self-discipline. And I think that the self-discipline that they can have is process, is doing everything the same, even if they're failing, until they find out what part of that fails, and then make the change in some of the different parts until they sequentially work through the whole thing and come out the other side. But what you get is you get a lot of style drift with newer traders, where they just go, well, the trend lines didn't work this week, so I think I'll go and I'll use the Fibonacci next week. And I think that that causes
Yeah.
them a huge big problem. And one of the other things I think with them is there's no outside influence. This is learning to trade, learning to be a retail trader on your own is it's one of the very few things in your life where you're doing something that's actually important to you, but you have to organize every single piece of it. So you go to school, it's organized for you. You go to your job, it's organized for you. There's an outside influence. There's some sort of sanction if you don't complete certain tasks, or even if you go to a prop house again, you're gonna have a risk manager, you're gonna have somebody who's gonna sit there with a ruler and whack you on the knuckles if you don't do your job properly. But being a retail trader, you're just sitting at a desk someplace and doing whatever you like, to a certain extent, and to develop a system out of chaos. And what ends up happening is that different little pieces of trading hurt when you're learning it. Because you have to take stops every once in a while or whatever it is, or you just don't like that particular subject. And there's little bits that hurt, and it's very easy for you to self trick yourself away from doing certain tasks that are vital in trading because you don't actually have to. Nobody's going to turn around tomorrow and say, "Well, you didn't do your Fibonacci homework now, did you?" Um, it's not going to happen. So you get an awful lot of, and I think that creates a lot of the style drift is that they run into a problem with something where they're learning something and they might conceptually understand something or whatever, and then they go and they move on to something else. And I never made any progress in trading until I decided one that I was going to do intraday trading, like basically like took one style at a time, and I did that exhaustively until I had either learned it or failed at it. And that allowed me to progress because then when I was coming to issues, that it hold you up, that I didn't understand concepts, I didn't understand what was going wrong. There was nobody really to ask, is that I might have to spend 2 months, 3 months, 6 months with this issue until some piece of inspiration or some piece of information came along that actually helped me cure it. And if I could style drift, take up swing trading tomorrow, take up whatever else tomorrow, if it would be relatively easy, but it's still a style drift, at the end of the day. And I know I'm trying to change my style now, but that's because I have a plan. I know what the setups are that I want to use, and I just have to go learn something else. It's not because I'm unsuccessful in what I'm doing. It's because I want to have a higher quality of life, and so
Yep.
it's learning a different skill. And I think that makes that's the whole thing with that. Oh yeah, and the last thing I want to say is checklists are really important. I Because at the moment, because I am in that switching style thing, I still have to go back to do loads of checklists because there's so much to remember every
Yep.
day. You have to check. Like for me, I have to check the news for the day. I have to check the 60-minute trend lines. I have to know where price is in relation to the closest 60-minute trend line at all the time. The 5-minute trend line, where is it in relation to the 5-minute trend line? Update my fib charts and so on, and then look at the overnight action, and then and then look at the news, and then make an analysis. And there's so many little things to remember, and forgetting one of them can ruin your trade. So
Yep.
checklists are great for that. I think if you don't do checklists, it's bananas.
Totally, and that's something I banged on about for years. Anyone who know me know I bang on about it and stuff. And the reason I bang on about it is because it works and it's quite simple and it's quite easy and it helps you. So why wouldn't you? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take stuff that has helped other performers in other performance environments and
Mm.
utilize it in your trading and stuff? People who do it works and stuff. So yeah, definitely on that. Yeah, with regards to your comments there, yeah, part of that is if you're a private trader at home, most people in a job, they've got a supervisor of some sort. Okay, a supervisor to basically hold them to account. Whereas actually trading at home, there is nobody. All right, people can operate and act however they wish, and invariably they can operate that way. But equally, they have not built up the self trust in themselves to basically trust themselves to do the right thing at the right time, and so. So style drift happens. Style drift happens because they've tried a new trading strategy, and there's been, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 losing trades in the chart, which is perfectly possible for any trading system. And they ditch it, and they basically go off elsewhere, and then they're just like a dog chasing their tail in a loop of constant in a constant just in a constant doom loop of chasing their tail, basically hoping to find a holy grail, which doesn't exist in that particular sense and stuff. And so, actually, having a simple system that they can follow that basically allows them to build the self trust in themselves to do the right thing at the right time when it's needed, and to maybe have someone that could be a paid coach. That could be just a trading buddy. A guy they've met at a meetup that basically helps hold them accountable and keep them going in the right place and stop them from basically going into style drift or just basically doing whatever they want or avoiding revenge trading. All these things, which are basically when people break their rules. Okay, when they demonstrate that kind of a lack of discipline. All right, all of these things and stuff. There are ways and means to help themselves, and part of that involves having other social contact with other traders. Really, I think because it's actually even the most introverted. Okay, we're still social animals, and having that little bit of interaction and having somebody to help you, to be a trading buddy, to help just keep you accountable, help keep you on the straight and narrow, help keep you following your checklists, being disciplined in your trading. That can help you get you across the hump until it just becomes an automatic response. All right, I often say, pilots, air traffic controllers, doctors, nurses, etc. They train at a specific little skill until it becomes an automatic response, whether that be stripping your rifle in the dark, or whether that be the way you go through your checklists as a controller to basically make sure everything's safe, towards doctors and nurses putting cannulas into you and stuff like that. They go through it and do it until the response becomes automatic, because skill is a drill, and very little in the trading education world will focus on that. Okay, because it's all focused about entertaining people with lots of noise and jazz hands and stuff, and exciting stuff, rather than the stuff you really need to focus on to be the best trader you can be.
Mhm. I know in my own group, I've tried tried the idea of creating trading pods a few times, and there's no goal for them. They just don't want to. They just don't want to do it. They want to do it if I go into the same pod. So,
Yeah,
and what happens with that is that trading pods really shouldn't have one person who's more advanced than the others in a way, because what ends up happening is then you just become the teacher, and then it just becomes a class. It's not a pod,
yeah,
and I don't think that it works particularly well. And the thing is that what it is, one of the biggest issues I find, particularly with men, is that they can't admit weakness. So one of the problems in going into these things, the real advantage of a trading pod, like a good trading pod, is that you get to talk about your problems. It's like one of these drumming circles or whatever, sort of thing, where you just basically get to sit and talk about your problems and
yeah,
and what you're doing, and have your problems critiqued, and have them help you in some way, that they will help you understand what you're doing. Because one of the things is, as well, is that because we get tricked so much by our own subconscious, and we have so many beliefs, and we believe them, and we're not challenging them. And in trading, you don't get to say them out loud a lot. So if you go to a trading pod and it's a good trading pod, they'll be able to tell you, you'll be able to put out your belief system, show your belief system, show your, not your trading system. Trading system isn't really as important as people think. Show your belief system, and then have them point out and go, well, every time I've seen you trade, you tend to pick your nose, or whatever it is. That you're going to do something wrong. And simply by having somebody, excuse me, having somebody else watch you carry out a function, they're going to see things that you can't see in yourself. It's like that everybody has an opinion about, every time I see you do this, or every time I see you do that. Um, and I think they're great from that. And the other thing as well is that by not having somebody, I mean, in reality, if you're a single, if you're at home and you're a retail trader, the best thing that I think you can possibly do if you don't have other traders in your life is just shut up. Because Nobody's interested in what you're doing. You're only putting
Mm.
yourself under pressure because if people come along and find out that you're even doing this trading, then they'll be like, "How is the trading going?" And what they're basically doing, they're not asking you about your trading. They're grading their life decision against your life decision.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you're going to end up with in is taking on their judgment because they are like literally judging you against against themselves. So if you win, they won't like you anyway. And if you lose, they'll laugh at you and feel better
Mm.
about themselves. So why would you even tell them in the first place? With intimate partners, trading is pain, especially learning trading is a painful experience. It's a and you know, it's nice to share your pain, but the problem with sharing pain with people with intimate partners who are not involved in that business is that they have no understanding of it, and all they do is see somebody who's in pain and soaking up a lot of time and possibly resources. So you're instilling them with, "You're in pain. I never see you, and you seem to be spending a lot of money." That's what they would see when you're learning trading. So shut up. Just swallow it. Put it in the back of your head. Don't talk to anyone unless it's another trader. And then if it's another trader, you have to, I really would encourage people to be honest, to be try and come out and say that I'm having this problem and it's not working for me this way, it's not working for me that way, because most of them, 90, like to become a day trader, to become an intraday trader is about a 1% success rate. So you have a 99% possibility that that person is sharing some of the issues that you're sharing. And And so there isn't this whole thing because one of the things I used to find an awful lot is that people would come in, if I was doing some mentoring with them and they'd explain their process to me and I'd be like, I know in my head that doesn't work. I did that 10 years ago and it didn't work then and it doesn't work now. And they would do everything to try and maintain that they were making money, maintain that they were being successful. And that was only a block to their learning because then it was taking me 2 hours of listening to bullshit before it actually, and then I'd have to go and challenge them and say, this just isn't working. This couldn't work. And either they had to break down and then start again, doing something else, or else just give it up. And another problem they had as well is that this sunk time fallacy thing, or whatever it is, where they had spent so much time, excuse me, still the end of the flu, actually. They spent so much time building some system or learning some way of trading that they wanted some reward for that. They
Yeah.
expected that the world was going to somehow reward them because they'd done 200 hours in building this trading system, and the trading system wasn't working for them. And then you come along and say, "Well, don't do that then, do something else." And they'd be like, "No, I can't." So they'll get locked into failure. Um, and it's really difficult then, it's really difficult to even if you showed them a better way, you have such an emotional attachment to what they were doing
Yeah.
that you just can't get them you can't move
So
them up into that whole thing. Like I think it's oh yeah, just
it's
wanted to read out.
cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to, this one last thing, which I was just thinking about it. There was some joke thing that was doing the rounds on Facebook or TikTok or something. And I was going, I feel a bit bad today. And I just thought it was just the life of a trader, which was like, did you leave the house today? I feel bad. Did you leave the house today? No. Did you talk to anyone today? No. Did you eat well today? No. Did you exercise? No. And that's the life that you can very easily end up with, I think, as a professional trader. It's you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
um it's not all pleasure. It's really not all pleasure, I don't think.
No, no, you have to we talked about it a few weeks back. It all comes under managing yourself. If you
Mm,
are going to trade from
mm,
home full time, you have to have breaks, and you have to get out of the house. You have to have breaks from trading, all right? You have to have breaks in the day, get out of the house. You have to go and see other people. You have to go and basically, even if it's a long walk, all right, or go to the gym or however you need to do. You need to be out doing something and stuff. And that all needs to be part of a little bit of a routine, because otherwise, yeah, especially if you're having a bit of a challenging time, you can find yourself. just basically narrowing your life, narrowing down into a few, kind of repeating poor choices, and that basically just doesn't help you. Doesn't help you at all. And as I said, there's no supervisor to tap you on the shoulder and say, Ian, what you doing? Have a word with yourself, sort yourself out, lad, and stuff. It all once again comes down onto you. And as I said earlier, it could just well be that you're burnt out, you've reached a point of decision fatigue, all right, and you just need to take a break. And it's one of the things I talk about on one of my kind of performance courses is about prevention is better than cure. It is better to take breaks before you have to take a break. Better that you can do it, manage it and basically and invariably sort of be in control of that, all right, or run it at your own rate rather than you having to take a break because you're completely burnt out or you've completely lost you've lost perspective of what you're trying to achieve and stuff. And I often see that with a lot of traders will come and talk to me is that they just needed a bit of a break, right? They just needed a bit of break. They just need a bit of step away and actually just reassess and get a little bit of a mental recharge. And then, hey presto, they come back at it with a new vigor and passion for it, And as I say, prevention is better than cure, always, always.
I definitely think, as I said it before, because one of the big things with trading is that you live in failure most of the
Mm-hmm.
time. It's all about failure. It's not about success. And I think an awful lot of traders, an awful lot of like depression, for instance, is just simply a bad life. I know there was something they did with Southeast Asia, and they had some farmer, and the farmer was like super depressed, and they tried every drug under the sun on him, and then somebody bought him a water buffalo, and he was happy suddenly because he could go and do what he actually wanted to do, and he was able to, achieve his life goals, which is go back and farm or whatever it is. And I think that trading can steal your quality of life very quickly, especially in that sort of like deep phase where you're in there, and it's you've a lot of sunk cost into it. You have a lot of time put into it. You've lost a certain amount of money. You've lost the price of a family holiday at least, and it's not providing you the quality of life that you want, and it's very easy to fall into being like really just depressed and whatever else. And then what are you going to do? Because the problem is that you can go do two things. You can quit, which is not actually one of the things I'm very much in favor of, is people quitting earlier than quitting later, because statistically it's a difficult job. It's not for everyone. It's Try it, do it for a couple of years, see how you get on with it, and then make a decision. Because you can go on forever in trading and still fail. And after 2 years or 3 years, you have a good idea where you are, what you're going to do, and if you're going to succeed at it. You're either having like a lot of the early signs of success or actual some success, um, or you're not. Another thing too is you can't judge yourself against other traders
Yeah,
because
yeah.
99% of the guys you see on the internet are telling lies. So you see all these people in all these Facebook groups, because I'm in a load of Facebook groups, just out of fun. One of my hobbies was on a Friday night to have a few bottles of beer and then get on the internet and troll them. Uh, it's great fun. Like, you're wrong. That's not how you do that. You'll never make money doing that. I know. I'm a professional trader. I've been at this fucking
It's because
14
I don't
years.
live in Dublin anymore. You're stuck at home on your own. That's what it is.
So I have to take my aggression out on someone. So
Yeah.
but you can't judge yourself against other traders. So one of the things you see with these guys, and they're like, oh yeah, I just made whatever. And 90, because again, statistics are probably 1%, maybe in swing trading, maybe it's 4%, 5%, I don't really know. But in my niche of it, it's 1% or less than 1%. So 99% of the people who are presenting themselves as successes on Facebook are frauds in some way or other, because they're not making the money. And guys are going to look for status, and they're going to look for some sort of payback. It's this whole American idea of fake it till you make it. And there's guys that I've seen that they didn't have a clue what they were doing, but they were offering mentoring, and they were starting Facebook groups, and they were telling people, that they were this and they were that and they were the other. And then secretly, it was like I felt like the side chick or something. They come around to you and go, "How do you do this? Jesus Christ, I don't know. I lost a load of
It's
money."
an awful lot of Yeah,
There's an awful lot of that, and it's you
yeah,
can't judge yourself. You can't sit there and say, "Well, I'm failing and everybody else is succeeding," because that is simply not true. It is simply
yeah.
not true. Can't be
There's an
true.
awful lot of those blowhards, especially on some of those social media platforms and stuff and what have you. And basically, you listen to them, you realize they haven't actually got a clue about what they're doing and stuff. But yeah, anyway, let's avoid them. All right, let's stay away from them and stuff. And let's draw to a close and stuff. So I think next week is well, what is next week and stuff? Let me check and stuff. I did have a look there. Okay, what have we got on next week? Oh well, actually, boom! It kind of leads into next week. Next week is all about managing a trading slump. Ian, all right. So
Yeah,
every trader, all right, every trader will have trading slumps. Okay, no, it's just it's part of the gig, it's part of the game and stuff. And
mm,
actually, it's about managing that. What do you do when you're in a bit of a trading slump? So
right.
we both have plenty to talk about there. Okay, I've
Yeah.
experienced them, seen them, I've helped people out of them and
Mm,
stuff.
mm.
I'm sure you have yourself. So there'll be
I
lots for
know.
us
I just
to
think when you say how do you manage a trading slump, it's kind of the same question as what's your favorite whiskey? I think at the end of the day,
Well, do you know what, Ian? That might well be a podcast all its own as well. What
yeah,
is Ian's favourite whiskey and stuff?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe we'll do a one
It's
in
been a
August when the markets are dead and stuff, and
yeah,
we'll do that. But yeah. But all right. Anyway, let's draw that to go. So all right, nice to see you, Ian. Thanks very much. And
yeah.
yeah, thanks everyone if you listen to the end of this. As always, we really appreciate you subscribing, liking, giving us a comment or a question or even a topic if you something you'd like us to see discussed. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks very much, everybody. Speak to you soon. Cheers.